Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center. And also, hello to everybody out there online, where our mission here is all about transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. Welcome to a beautiful early spring day, March 1st. Yeah, right on. Let's keep this going. My name is Alan Bassan, and I have the pleasure to serve as your platform assistant this morning. Please take a moment now, if you will, and silence your cell phones. But before you do, go ahead and check in with your favorite social media and let everybody know where you're at. We want to begin our time together by sharing our opening affirmation. I will say it once and ask you to repeat it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. This is Unity's principal foundation: one presence, one power, one life, living through and as each and every one of us. This morning we will hear from Reverend Jane, who will be sharing the Sunday message entitled, Celebrate the Seed. And Dr. Gary will be leading the meditation. We are blessed musically this morning by Brian Wright and our special Brian, and our special guest diva, Sally Sledge. You know, she's straight from Broadway here this morning. No, not that Broadway. It's Argonne and Broadway. She was singing the other day on a corner.
Stick to the script.
Let's now stand and sing our community song, Swing Wide the Doors.
Swing Good morning. My name's Linda, and I have the announcements. Islands of Sanity. Are you willing to share your gifts and talents to create islands of sanity that aid in shifting to a new paradigm of living? Explore with Reverend Jane, Saturday, March 7th at 10 a.m. That's the coming up Saturday. It's March now. Unleashing the wisdom of the Bible. Delve into the myths, mysteries, hypocrisies, and truths that reveal themselves when looking at these sacred scriptures as a human response to God. Starting this Wednesday at 6 p.m., an evening class for people who work. Yay! With Karen Dunmore. She's going to bring soup for dinner at 5:30. And if you'd like to come and share her soup and bring bread or salad to share, you're more than welcome. Chaplain training on March 14th. If you're called to prayer, see a chaplain for more information.
And there's a sign-up sheet for the training just outside the door in the member center.
Sign-up sheet for training outside on the sign-up table, if anybody's interested. For chaplain training. Jane will have a new book study group for Let's Do Lunch starting March 17th through April 21st from 11:30 to 1. Bring your lunch, reading and discussing the book The Gifts of Our Compulsion by Mary O'Malley. She's the one who wrote What's in the Way is the Way that we went through last fall. And so come and join Jane for lunch. Also looking forward, the blood drive will be March 22nd. And the landscape committee has started to clean up the yard. So if anybody's willing to come help on Thursdays, they're here from 9 to 12. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Center Update with Dr. Jane. And oh, by the way, I've heard it told that next Sunday we will fall back. No, we'll spring ahead. We'll spring ahead, sorry. Yes. So don't forget to spring ahead so that we're all here at the same time. Okay, so you, when you entered here, you should have received a survey, and it would have been in your handout, if, or you might have gotten it separately. And so these are the proposed, raise your hand if you don't have one, and we can get you one, all right? These are the proposed spirit group topics that will begin the week after Easter. Spirit groups, for those of you who don't know, are small groups that gather typically in someone's home and explore different topics, ideas together. And these, so you'll see on the left column, there's all those ideas of what they are, some ideas. Then on the other side, you can rate them 1, 2, and 3. So I'm asking everyone, if you just choose your top 3 choices and rate those, or if you only have 2, just do 2. Yeah.
Is 1 the highest or is 3 the highest?
1 is the highest. 3 is not the highest. First choice. First, second, and third choice. And then on the other side, you have a place where you can, if there's a topic you're not seeing there that you would like to see, you can write that in. And then answer some of those questions. Maybe you're already part of a spirit group that's reconvening. You can say so. Or if you'd be willing to host a group in your home, you can say so, and how many people. If you'd be willing to facilitate a group, some of them will have facilitation materials. If you're interested in helping to write some of those curriculum or outlines for these topics, gathering together a group of curriculum writers to do that, or actually creating templates as well. If you're interested in working with me on that, put your information down. And then if you fill in your name and email so that we can contact you about your spirit group choice or choices. Anything more you want information on, or any other comments? There's room to fill that in. So we're just taking a moment now to actually do it, just for a minute. And if you If you complete it and then pass it to the center aisle, we'll pick those up. And if you don't have time during this time to do it, you can fill it in and drop it in later after the service. Any other questions on that? How many of you have been in a spirit group? How many would like to be in one again? Okay, great. So hopefully there's something on this list that calls to you that you may be interested in pursuing with a group. All right, when you're complete, just pass them to the center, and we will get ready for meditation.
So let us begin our meditation experience with the breath. And we're going to be doing a specific form of breathing called the box breathing. The box breath, what's it called? Box breathing, that's what it is. And so just as a box has 4 sides, the breath has 4 phases. We have the inhalation, then a pause, then a release, and then another pause. And we'll make each of those aspects of the breath for 4 seconds, for the count of 4. So we'll breathe in for the count of 4, we'll hold for a count of 4, and then we'll release for a count of 4, and then we'll pause for the count of 4. And we'll do that 4 times, and then we'll get into our hearts. And so let's begin. Breathe in, and hold, and release, and rest. Breathe in, and hold, and release, and rest. Breathe in, hold, and release, and pause, and once again, breathe in, and hold, and release. Let us just release ourselves now to this moment. And as we settle in, just relax. Drop your shoulders. Allow the chair to just hold you. And just rest in the feeling of being held. And now let us bring into our awareness someone or something that we appreciate. Opening ourselves to those feelings of gratitude and appreciation that accompanies the felt experience of connecting to this loved one, to this life partner, this family member, this friend, this child, this memory. Whatever comes to us that carries with it the felt sense of gratitude, love, care. Let us allow those feelings to simply grow and rise up from within us and overflow and fill this sanctuary so that together we create a heart-centered resonance field. And it is within this field, within this space, that we can feel our connection. And so right now, feel your connection to the person beside you, behind you, in front of you. Just as you feel your own heart, feel connected to all the hearts that are in this room, all the lives that are assembled here. The wonderful diversity of ways in which we are gathered today in form, in feeling, in possibilities. And let us give into this moment our feeling of gratitude and peace that enables us to connect up beyond the words and thoughts, connect to a greater sense of oneness and wholeness and well-being. And so now let us linger in the silence for a few moments as we take in this awareness of our connection to each other, our connection to presence in the silence. Breathe in and release. Breathe in and release. We release ourselves now into the care and keeping of Spirit, giving thanks in advance for all that is making its way into our lives that bring us into the greatest expression of who and what we've come here to be. And for this we are grateful. Thank you, God. So it is. Amen.
Thank you. How beautiful. And I believe that to be true. That we are here to be the hands and the heart and the voice of God in action. Do you feel that? Yes. Yeah. Well, good morning. Good morning. What do you think of when you hear the word faith? You know, that word can be a charged one when we talk about it in a spiritual sense. It can be loaded, a loaded word, mainly because many of us in our younger days may have been told that we had to believe something simply because a spiritual authority of some kind said so. We may have been asked to check our brains at the door and just have blind faith, with the message that you better believe this or else. Dire consequences. And in that sense, faith can be used almost as a weapon. But that's not what I'm talking about this morning. What I'm talking about is a much different definition. Rather than blind faith, we're talking about visionary faith. It's an actual power that we have. And what it does, in the words of Charles Fillmore, our Unity's co-founder, it's the perceiving power of the mind linked with the ability to shape substance. Perceiving power of the mind linked with the ability to shape substance. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? You know, I had to memorize that definition in ministerial school, and to be honest, it felt like fluffy nothing to me. Just words, jargon. I really didn't get how extraordinary that idea was. That is, until the Q process brought to my attention how I was using my power of faith to create experiences that I did not want in my life. You see it? I caught myself perceiving something that was only true in my own mind, that it was too hard for me to write the book that I've begun, that I didn't have what it took to write it. And I could see so clearly in that moment how I had then proceeded to shape the substance of my life to be in accordance with that mistaken reality. Do you see it? Every time I sat down to write, it was difficult. Nothing would come, no inspiration, dry. And yet that belief was totally untrue. It was made up, it was false, it was incorrect, and yet that did not take away its power until I saw it. Until then, I was as chained to that truth. I mean, I was as locked into it as if I was chained to it, with what William Blake calls mind-forged manacles. I love that. Well, I don't love it, but I like the sound of the words. Mind-forged manacles. What an aha moment that was for me. I have to share that with you. When I saw that it was all tied to perception, or actually misperception, really. You know, two people can have the exact same experience and each one of them have a different perspective of the whole thing, a different perception of what happened. Do you know what I'm talking about here? Have you ever had a conversation with someone that you thought you were saying one thing and they were hearing another? I heard about a very wise teacher who always kept this ball near her desk that was black on one side and white on the other side. And one day she found two of her students arguing, it was a boy and a girl, and she brought them into her classroom, and she had each one stand on opposite sides of the desk and then place the ball in the middle, and she asked them both what color the ball was. And each one, it was white, no, it was black, no, it was white, no, it was black. They both were convinced the other person was wrong. You know, what's the matter with you? You say that that's black, it's white. And they discovered, of course, that neither one was wrong. The point of view depended on where they stood. You see it? Their viewing point. And what we have to remember is that the same thing goes for us, that our world is colored by our perception, our viewing point. And how we see what we see makes a difference. How we perceive the world has tremendous significance. It has a lot of clout, our perceptions. It's powerful enough to shape substance. And that is to actually create our experience of the reality we believe it to be in the physical world. So, In my case, through doing worksheet after worksheet, I saw clearly how my perception was creating my experience. The perceiving power of the mind linked with the ability to shape substance. So is there something in your life that you're perceiving from a certain viewing point? And then having faith in that perception. See? Think about that in your own life. Is there something going on in your life that you recognize now is a perception of how you think it is, and that you're, listening to what the mirror is reflecting back to you? As Henry Ford is quoted as saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And if I believe that life is difficult, and Gary alluded to this last week, then my perception will be that I have a difficult life. Do you see it? If I think I'm not good enough, or talented enough, or thin enough, or prosperous enough, I'll continue to bump up against that belief. And my life will mirror it back to me, and then I will take that as evidence that it's true. This is what we do. That's how powerful we are. Now there's good news here. You ready? Yes. Lean in. Our perceptions can change. We have the ability to make that change. Every one of us. We can see something different than what our current experience is telling us, and that's a wonderful tool that we have. So here's a question for you that the psychologist Maria Namath is fond of asking when she's doing work with you. Would it be all right if your life got easier? Well, guess what? That can actually happen when we stop making agreements with difficulty. Stop putting our faith in the mirror or the projection. Shift it from the outer appearance to the inner truth that we know. So the question is not, do we have enough faith, like it's some sort of a deficiency? The question is, where are we putting it? Do we have faith in health or illness? In writing ability or the empty page? In the abundance of the universe or lack? In the power within us or the outer appearance? That's a big one. Because it's through that inner power of faith that we can see beyond the outer signs. And the truth is that we can never trust what the outer appearance is telling us. What appears solid is really space. The quantum scientist Werner Heisenberg said, the atoms or elementary particles themselves are not real. They form a world of potentialities or possibilities. Isn't that cool? So the perceiving power of the mind is just that, a perception of possibility. And we have a choice as to where we put our faith, and that choice will determine our experience. But if we are affirming one thing, we can go off and do all our affirmations, but at the same time we're believing something much different, which one's going to win out? The belief will always win, hands down. Our feeling about what's happening overrides our cognitive perspective. See, we can rationally think this, but it's the feeling of what we believe that is driving the bus. So we pen ourselves in by these limiting beliefs, and they're not true. So a shift in perception is necessary if we want to create something new and greater in our lives. Bottom line. And that means we learn to celebrate the seed. It's my talk title. What does that mean? Well, it means we begin to see the potential flower in the seed before it blooms. You see? We see the orchard in the apple pit, right? Before it becomes one. We see the oak tree in the acorn. Now, at the first service, I said unicorn. It just ruined the moment completely. And I promised them that I was going to leave it in for the second service. So here's your unicorn. I want to meet that person. But you know what? It's like Michelangelo seeing the angel in the marble and just freeing it. And we all have this ability to see that. There's just one little thing that gets in the way. It's called fear. Fear is what sees the empty page and makes it mean that it's hopeless to try and write anything. And we've been programmed and conditioned to live from fear and self-doubt, and we have to break through that conditioning. Recently, I read this about fear. It's having faith in certain images created by the mind, rather than having faith in the mighty creative power that is within us. So we have to start questioning what our mind is telling us. I think of Byron Katie's work. Is it true? Is what I'm believing true? There's a story told in the East about an artist who painted a tiger that was so real he became afraid to enter the room it was hanging in. Now we laugh at the silliness of the story, but guess what? In essence, that's exactly what we do when our mind conjures up something scary, a frightening image, and we imbue it with reality. See? We believe our thoughts, and then we deal with what shows up. We react to it. It's amazing to me what we do. We put our faith into something that's not real. And when we do that, we choose a life, a reality that is filled with fear, anxiety, worry, competition, defensiveness, separation, all those things. Charles Fillmore describes fear as the great paralyzer of mental action. I think that's very clear. And he says, fear throws dust in our eyes and hides the mighty spiritual forces that are always with us. It clouds our vision. It clouds our thinking. So faith is the power to create our experience of reality by the perceptions that we deem to be real. We realize them. So what are you realizing? What are you putting your faith in? And would it be all right with you if life got easier? So then we begin by questioning our thoughts and our established beliefs. We be willing to ask questions and get new answers. And faith can lift us from this limited level of thinking to greater heights simply by shifting to a higher perspective, celebrating the seed. And that raises us to a place of spiritual strength as we come into the awareness of the truth, you see? So we're talking here about visionary faith because it's based on something that we can internally visualize so clearly that we attain a deep conviction that it's true. That's the work. The Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore said, "Faith is the bird that feels the light when the dawn is still dark." And that's the kind of vision we need to aspire to, seeing what can be and then feeling it arriving before it actually shows up. And then engaging in actions that demonstrate our inspired vision. There's a saying that reads, "Imagination is hearing the melody of the future. Faith is dancing to the melody." And so we listen for the melody, but it's when we start dancing to it, dancing with it, that we step on this path that brings it into manifestation. And that takes commitment. There's a story about a man who called himself the Great Zambruti. And he used to walk on a tightrope across Niagara Falls. You remember that guy? One time he walked with a wheelbarrow from one side to the other. There he is. And when he reached the other side, a young man rushed up to him and said, "You are the great Zambruti, and you are so great that you could get right back up there and cross again with that wheelbarrow. I know you could. I have faith in you." And Zambruti said, "Yes, I could, but I'm not going to." But the young man was persistent. He said, "Yes, but you are so great, and I have such faith in you. I know you could just climb right back up there and walk that whole thing again with that wheelbarrow." And again, Zambruti said, "No, I'm not going to do it again." And this time, the young man was even more insistent. He said, "I have faith in the great Zambruti. I know that if you wanted to, you could just do it one more time." And with that, the great Zambruti looked at him held up the wheelbarrow, and said, "Get in." Good answer. So how committed are you to realizing your life? Faith is the faculty that opens the door, but ask yourself, am I ready to hop in to demonstrate this? Now, when we look at the power of faith metaphysically, we find that the disciple Peter is held up as representing faith. And there's a story in the 14th chapter of Matthew that illustrates why that is. The disciples are sailing along on the Sea of Galilee while Jesus has gone off alone to pray. And in the darkness just before the dawn, the disciples see a ghostly figure walking towards them on the water. And they all become fearful. But then Peter realizes it's Jesus, and he said, "Lord, if it's you, bid me come to you on the water." And then Peter steps out of the boat and starts to walk on the water toward Jesus. And we have actual footage of that moment right here. But then a strong wind arises, and he shifts his focus, and instead of begins to pay attention to the turmoil beneath him. And he probably asked himself, what on earth am I doing out here on this water? And he began to sink. Now there's great metaphysics in this story. Have you ever found yourself stepping out in faith with your eye fixed on a positive outcome, feeling Spirit's guidance, feeling it? And maybe you took those first few steps in confidence towards your goal. Well, then you're like Peter getting out of the boat. And if we can stay focused on that goal and stay in the awareness of the Christ within us, the higher self, the greater mind that is leading us, that is beckoning us to become more, if we keep our eyes on the prize, then we don't become distracted by life's experiences. However, if we lose that awareness, you see, if we become focused on the turmoil around us, on the storms of life, on the outer appearances, we can drown in our own despair. Especially if we ask ourselves, what made me think I could even do this? We can sink even deeper, which is what was happening to me when I was trying to write. Now, we might sometimes be critical of Peter, thinking, well, he didn't have enough faith. He got out of the boat. He got into that wheelbarrow. He joined the dance. But here's the thing. He had enough faith. At first it was in Jesus, and then it shifted to the unstable sea. And this is really the pivotal point of this story. This is where the metaphysics comes in. He took his first step, and then he took his eyes off the goal, off of the Christ who had called him, and he began to see the problems, the strength of the wind, the stormy sea, and he became frightened. Fear can be faith in a negative outcome. You know, I started out writing my book with vision and inspiration. I got out of the boat, but then I made an agreement with difficulty. And I took my eyes off the vision. Instead, all I saw was the empty page. And I focused on that, instead of remembering that I was feeling called to write. And that it was something else inside of me that was running the show. I forgot that. And then it became so hard. So difficult, nothing coming through. I would write something and end up deleting the whole thing. And the more discouraged I got, the worse it became. And I just gave up trying. You know, it takes a certain measure of audacity to look at the outer appearance and hold fast to your faith in the invisible, to celebrate the seed, to bless the blank page. But here's the thing, we have within us all we need to be lifted up by the power of Spirit within us and carried through any turmoil. It takes visionary focus and trust to continue confidently walking toward that outcome with faith when the evidence of it has yet to appear in the physical realm. And so we need to learn to traverse this in-between time from planting to harvest. And when I had that insightful aha moment that I had been creating this whole experience in my life that I didn't want, wow. But it didn't just change overnight to one that I like better. The book's not complete yet. But I had to plant a new seed. I had to tend it with a daily spiritual practice of continuing to mine any limiting beliefs around my writing that came up. And then with self-compassion, shift them to more kinder, more healing, more loving, more true beliefs. And it took authentic action, worksheet after worksheet after worksheet, dancing with this new melody that I wanted to see come forth. And then taking embodied action that demonstrated the new belief, which was working with a coach and committing to writing days and writing times and following through. And suddenly the writing is flowing like it never has before. It's flowing like a river. All stemming from a shift in perception followed by authentic action. Joseph Campbell describes our true self as a whole range of possibilities you've never even thought of. I love that. The ego doesn't quite know what to do with that. But just imagine with me an energetic field of potentiality that can be activated through the combining of our power of visionary faith and compassionate, authentic action that takes us there. Can you feel that? Can you see that? Yes. One of my favorite quotes is, "Only those who can see the invisible can do the impossible." And we do that as we celebrate the seed. And a big part of this is learning to believe in our potential more than our past. Even when our vision has yet to be demonstrated. Believe in your potential more than your past. Why? Because we are fashioned by the power that creates and sustains all of life. That's why. The one life is living itself through and as every one of us here. We are all carrier waves of that power that birthed us, that breathes us. Do you feel that? You are a focal point of divine consciousness. You are the divine presence in expression. And that presence is closer than our very, very breath, always. And we become aware of it through the stillness, feeling that presence. One of our SEE students described it as catching a whiff of holiness. I love that. It's so important every day to enter the silence, the secret place of the Most High, to listen to the still small voice that whispers the truth that we can, rather than the critical yapping that tells us that we can't, along with all the possible reasons why. Do you know that voice? Yes. Yes. It's not the truth. So what do you desire in life? A healthy body, loving, harmonious relationship, successful, fulfilling career, prosperity, a kinder, more compassionate world? In order to bring potential into manifestation, we have to become, in the words of Norman Vincent Peale, practicing possibilitarians. Having faith in the power within us to overcome any outer condition, and that means we start to not only dance with the melody of the future, we begin to live the dance. Live the dance. Are you ready to become a possibilitarian? Yes. If you find the reality you're living in is not one to your liking, this is a good time to stop and see where you may have been making an agreement with difficulty. Ask yourself if it would be all right if your life got to be easier. And if the answer is yes, begin by questioning your limiting beliefs. What are you perceiving that is not true? And then using the mirror as evidence that it is. The Q process is very helpful in uncovering those beliefs. Then with self-compassion, work with the beliefs that you uncover to help them to release, to morph into more life-affirming true beliefs. And start listening for that melody of the future, for where you're being called to step out in faith. Listen as you spend your time in the silence, letting your heart bring forth a vision of something greater. And then plant the seed of whatever it is you want to have happen through intention. And then begin to dance that melody. Become a possibilitarian. Feel the way you're going to feel when it comes to pass. That takes practice. And take authentic action that nurtures the seed's growth. Ask your heart for guidance on what that action should be. It is time for us. It's time for us to stop doubting our divine eternal nature. It's time for us to get out of our own way and to use this power of faith to celebrate the seed as we actualize our potential, rather than being stuck in recreating our past. Are you ready to get out of the boat? Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths to God, for we know that there is only one power and one presence and one life. So whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey of transformation, we welcome you here this morning. We would especially like to welcome anybody here for the very first time. If this is your first time and you feel comfortable, please raise your hand and our ushers have a gift packet for you, and leave them up long enough so they can see you. Right on. On the outside of that packet, there's a form you can fill out to be added to our mailing list for our weekly e-news update and our quarterly newsletter. If you're interested, please fill it in and drop it in the love offering bag as it comes around instead of giving a donation today. Also, after the service, this is key, you can take that packet to our barista stand and get a free beverage of your choice. And if you have any questions or would like a name tag, please visit our information desk right out to the left outside there in the foyer, and our welcome team will be out there and willing to help you. We would also like to welcome all of our online viewers out there. Good morning. Now is the time to welcome and greet each other with a handshake, a hug, a high five, a wave, a namaste, an Eskimo kiss if you'd like. The possibilities are endless. So before we do that, let's sing our welcome song, Growing Love.
Good morning, everybody.
My name is Jim Sledge, and I, for the last time in 3 years, am the treasurer on your board of trustees. So this is my last time up here in that position. And, I do want to And I do want to thank you for allowing me to cajole, tease, finagle, bribe, whatever, to get you to remember that whereas we are a spiritual family and a spiritual community, we do also have some physical needs. And I know that that bothers some people when we talk about that on Sunday, and I get that. But I think that I don't see that that really diminishes the spiritual connection we all have when we talk about our needs. So I thank you for allowing me to do that. And the next person who is going to be your treasurer, I hope you will look at them with that same light and love that you've given me. And I appreciate it very much. So I have faith that we're going to do what the board set out to do 3 years ago, and that's to cover all of our expenses through our gifts. I know that's going to happen. So let's take that faith and, as we say, our prosperity blessing together. Together, I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share, and so it is.
Thank you, Brian and Sally. That was beautiful. All right. We give thanks for these gifts and for those who have given them as we send them forth to bless our world. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. As we are giving thanks for these gifts we are receiving at Unity Spiritual Center, we want to take time to thank all of those in service to our ministry. Today we are saying a special thank you to our barista team. Would anyone who has ever served as a barista please stand and be recognized? Thank you all for your crafty and delicious liquid concoctions and for keeping our community buzzed. Our chaplain today are Kathy Fisher and Tim Ryburn, and Tim's been holding the high watch in the back of the sanctuary, or up front, as one does every Sunday. If there's anything that's heavy on your heart, or anything that you'd like to celebrate, they'll both be down here in the front of the sanctuary after the service. We are grateful for you guys. Thank you. You can fill out a prayer request form found in the seat pocket in front of you and put it in one of our prayer boxes, one in the back of the sanctuary and one out in the foyer. Our prayer team here will pray for you for 7 days, and then your prayers will be sent on to Silent Unity, where they will be prayed upon for another 30 days. And if you know someone who is in the hospital and has requested a visit from one of our chaplains, please fill out the visitation request form in the seat pocket in front of you and put it in the prayer box as well. All right, it's about time for our little ones to come on in. Somebody want to swing wide those doors out there for me, since I'm not back there? Thank you. Does everybody know what today is? It's Birthday Sunday. So if you have a birthday in the month of March, please stand and we will sing to you. Everybody. Happy birthday, everybody. We are very grateful for all of our young people here at Unity Spiritual Center. Let's take a moment and bless our children, our youth, and all of those in service to our ministry. Be the love you are. Sing the song you hear. Share your joy of life with people far and near. And for ourselves, be the love we are. Sing the song we hear. Share our joy of life with people far and near. All right, guys, go find the people that you came with. All right, please stand if you're able and join us together for our closing prayer, followed by the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and that's the truth.
As we move forward this week, we jump out of the boat and dance on the waves. I don't know. Yeah.